1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long. Caught somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
Those are the words of Joe Biden in an interview with George Stephanopoulos, talking about, hey, I need to work to get votes on anything we want to pass because that's the way we do things. We do them by consensus. We need to do it that way. We're not a dictatorship. We don't just sign laws and make it happen. How quickly he forgot what he said. No surprise. He had always intended, if I ever get in control, I get that pen in my hand and I sit at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, I will sign anything the leftists put in front of me. And he's been doing that over and over again. And we're not done. I mean, he's signing more today. I just told you how that even the New York Times, left wing as it is, the editorial board saying, ease up on the executive actions, Joe. Ease up. The board actually wrote, this is no way to make law. A polarized, narrowly divided Congress may offer Mr. Biden little choice, but to employ executive actions or see his entire agenda held hostage. These directives, however, are a flawed substitute for legislation. My God. Oh my God, as they say in Hollywood. Oh, my God. This is the New York Times saying these directives are a flawed substitute for legislation. Well, I want to hear Joe Biden say it again, how he will try to abide and what he thinks should be in this country.
I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
But I ain't got it, and I'm not going to ask for it. I'm not going to wait for it. I'm going to make it happen. And Senator Ted Cruz pointing out what Joe Biden with a mighty pen has already done.
Last week, I sat outside the Capitol. I listened to Joe Biden give his inauguration speech. I thought it was a good speech. I was glad to see him make an appeal towards unity. I think all of us would like to see greater national unity at this time when we have so much division, so much anger and hatred pulling this country apart. But then he left giving that speech and he returned to the Oval Office and literally within minutes began signing these executive orders that were radical and extreme. As you noted, he signed an order canceling the Keystone Pipeline. 11,000 jobs with a stroke of a pen he made go away. 8,000 of those are union jobs. And at the same time, he rejoined the Paris climate deal, which threatens to destroy thousands of high-paying jobs across this country. And the answer, I've asked multiple Biden nominees what they would say to the union workers who just lost their jobs because Joe Biden decided they didn't deserve a job. And essentially nominee after nominee after nominee has said, well, tough luck.
Tough luck. That's it. Just tough luck. We don't need your stinking job no more if we're going to go energy all protecting the climate and drop all fossil fuel efforts. We don't need your stinking jobs. And you guys, just tough luck. I mean, and again, the audacity, the arrogance of those on the left saying, well, all these oil field workers, they can go learn to build solar panels or windmills, or they can learn computer skills. And so some might be able to. I have a suggestion. May I interject a suggestion? get them that other job that pays them what they're already making before you shut down the job. Would you consider that? And it's not just Biden signing and absolutely putting the death note on top of the Keystone Pipeline, affecting only us. It also affects Canada. And then, of course, he took the pen and said, well, what else can I do regarding energy?
Among these orders, one of the things Joe Biden did is he shut down new energy exploration on federal land. Just shut it down, again, with the stroke of a pen. And by the way, you know who that helps? That helps Russia, that helps Iran, that helps Venezuela. That means America relies more on Middle East oil, sending billions of dollars to nations that are not our friends, and it pollutes the environment worse. They're saying, let's not rely on lesser producing, more efficient, job-creating American energy. Instead, let's go back to being energy dependent on foreign nations. This is hurting a lot of jobs, and it's undermining the security of our country.
Absolutely. And among those that he's just given an extra ability to, an additional power to, Russia, China. We're going to spend more time on how Biden, by some of these actions he's taken already, is indicating he's going to get deeper into bed with China. Now, reference these oil leases. The Western Energy Alliance, a trade group representing 200 companies engaged in oil and natural gas exploration in the western U.S. states, filed a lawsuit yesterday challenging Joe Biden's executive order to stop drilling leases on federal land. The complaint challenging his order as exceeding presidential authority, stating in the lawsuit the law is clear. Presidents don't have authority to ban leasing on public lands. All Americans own the oil and natural gas beneath public lands. Congress has directed them to be responsibly developed on their behalf. But again, the left attitude is, hey, what we're doing here is going to be better. Listen again to Joe Biden explain about climate change, and he says that it means more jobs, that climate change will mean more jobs. Let me remind you what yesterday his climate advisor, Gina McCarthy, said. This administration is not asking for sacrifice. The exciting thing is we're not asking for sacrifice. The president fully understands people are suffering now. This is all about building good, clean jobs, jobs where you can get access to jobs, to good pay, and unions. And 8,000 union jobs got cut when Biden signed off to kill the pipeline. But again, the left attitude is, you guys out there in the oil field, and so you don't really, you're buying a lie. You're buying a lie. John Kerry says basically, all of you workers in the oil field, you're kind of deluded.
Workers have been fed a false narrative. No surprise, right? For the last few years, they've been fed the notion that somehow dealing with climate is coming at their expense. No, it's not. What's happening to them is happening because of other market forces already taking place.
That's a lie right there. Other market forces taking place. If that's true, why have we had so much expansion in the oil and gas industry? Yes, there are efforts to bring more solar power, more nuclear power, so forth, other clean energies, but we still have the demand for fossil fuel in our nation and beyond. Maybe someday we'll fully be clear up. Look, back if you go back to the turn of this century, the turn of the last century, you had smokestacks belching columns and columns of black smoke falling over cities and usually poor neighborhoods that surrounded them. And yes, we had to get in there and clean that up and start scrubbing some of that stuff free before it went into the air. Yeah, there was a good reason to do that. And yes, some plants had to put up more money. Some plants had to shut down, unfortunately. That was not easy for those folks either. But we are not like the horse and buggy day right now that the oil workers are building horse carriages and cars are coming off the assembly line. We're not there. We are at a point where the oil and gas is still needed for our nation, for our security. And when you hear Biden and Kerry talk about the good that they're bringing, and for climate envoy John Kerry to tell you that you're deluded if you think that this is the future and that your job means something. This is the guy that flies around on his private jet who has never worked an honest day in his life. The same thing with Joe Biden. I've worked in the oil field when I was a late teenager. And some of the men that were working in that field then, they were not going to have much more than that, but it was a job. And they worked hard at it. And they do it today. They do it with a little bit more efficiency than we had then, certainly. But they're still got a job, and they're building families and homes and contributing to the economy. Give me one job that John Kerry has held where he paid taxes as a payroll employee, or Joe Biden. Senator Ted Cruz again on the danger of shutting down these leases.
Among these orders, one of the things Joe Biden did is he shut down new energy exploration on federal land. Just shut it down, again, with a stroke of a pen. And by the way, you know who that helps? That helps Russia, that helps Iran, that helps Venezuela. That means America relies more on Middle East oil, sending billions of dollars to nations that are not our friends, and it pollutes the environment worse. They're saying, let's not rely on lesser producing, more efficient, job-creating American energy. Instead, let's go back to being energy dependent on foreign nations. This is hurting a lot of jobs, and it's undermining the security of our country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to hear that again. It does. You know what the top 5 polluting countries are, according to, let me get the source here. This is Active U.S. Sustainability, I think it is. I'm going to go with their numbers. I haven't had a chance to check them. Here's what they want to claim. China, the world's most populated country, has seen its industry grow to become a serious danger to the planet. In fact, it says China, one of the top 5 polluting nations, at 30%. 30% of the pollution in the world comes from China. They put U.S. number 2 at 15%. But also acknowledge we have made major changes in our country. We've made major changes. India at 7%, third. Russia at 4th at 5%, Japan 5th at 4%. I tell you, these numbers do not jive with some other numbers I've seen, and I'm not going to verify or say they are accurate one way or the other because India's had a much higher contamination than what I see at 7% coming in third behind the U.S. But let's accept those numbers. If we accept them, and we're contributing only 15%, 85% is all these other countries, 30% of that, 85 for China. Do you see China signing on to the Paris Accord? Do you see them buckling down and doing what John Kerry and Biden say you should do for our country, or rather for our world? Nope. You talk about lying to the public. That's it. And then we got the lies that came out of Andrew Cuomo, and they're being exposed reference coronavirus.